Week 1 of the 2023 college football season kicks off and opens up tonight with a slate full of games. We're going to tell you about the prospects that you need to be paying attention to, and why is Nebraska quarterback Jeff Sims one of the sleeper quarterbacks for the 2024 NFL Draft. We're going to tell you about that all next on the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Locked On family? Let's get locked in. Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast covering your favorite draft prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your boy, Damian Parson, always on the ones and twos. You can find and follow me on Twitter at DP_NFL. I am the host of the Locked On Clemson Football Podcast, and thank y'all for tapping in with us and making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Thank you for being the family and being our everydayers, man. But of course, I'm always joined by Mr. LSU, my guy, Keith Sanchez. You can find and follow him on Twitter at The Talent Code. Keith, talk to him, baby.
What's up, Locked On family? This is Keith Sanchez, senior draft analyst with the Draft Network, man. In 2019, national champ with those LSU Tigers, man. But you know why we're here, right? Myself, Damian Parsons, we are here to bring you that championship level content surrounding the NFL Draft 24/7, 365. We don't stop this dynamic duo over here, man. And guess what, man? We are into college football season. Yes, it is here. It kicks off. It's a showdown. It's not week 0, right? I don't understand how they even do a week 0. It is week 1 of college football starting off Thursday, right? And so let's get this thing going, man. DP, we're going to get this thing going with prospects to watch. Like, who should we be watching out? This is the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. So it's time to give you the Locked On NFL Draft prospects from your dynamic duo. DP, who do the listeners, who do our everydayers need to be looking out for Thursday night?
Well, Keith, before we do that, give a quick shout out to our title sponsor. FanDuel is sponsored this episode of Locked On NFL Draft. FanDuel Sportsbook is the official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get up to $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. You know, I had to hit that guaranteed like Charles Barkley off of TNT. You know, I love how he drops that. But Keith, you asked about the prospects to watch. One of the one of my favorite guys, and I talked about him last summer while he was at Georgia Tech. Quarterback from Nebraska, Jeff Sims. Kid that's listed at around 6'3", 215, 210, 4'4", 4'5" type of athlete with a powerful arm. Can make all the NFL throws, can throw it touch, can throw it zip. And he's now in an offense with Matt Rhule coming back to his comfort zone in college football. I think this pro-style type of offense that Matt Rhule showed in the spring game for Nebraska, where you start to see and notice just a level of comfort for Jeff Sims. I think this starts his campaign where he's going to go out there and really prove why he's one of the best and more talented quarterbacks in the nation. They're going on the road against Minnesota at night, man. I think that's going to be a tough game, but Jeff Sims is one.
Was the Big 12 or is he in the Big 10 now? Yeah, Big 10, I'm sorry. He's just sitting out there, man, and he's ready and he's locked and loaded. And if you're talking about if Nebraska is going to make any noises because it's going to be on the shoulders of this guy. For Georgia Tech, we know what Georgia Tech has been in the past, right? And there's no slight to, any coach that's been over there. It's just it's been a tough situation and it's been tough sledding. So we haven't seen the best of Jeff Sims, but you illustrated it perfectly, right? You're talking about a rocket arm. You're talking about a dual threat athlete. So when it comes down to the NFL draft, right, we just seen Anthony Richardson go top 5, right, because he was a dual threat athlete with a big arm, even though everything else was quote unquote bad around him, or that's what the narrative was. So with Jeff Sims, man, you look at the very similar things. DP, I want to go to the matchup of the night, right? This Florida at Utah matchup, and we can talk about both teams, right? Because there's a good bit of prospects, but let's just go ahead and start with Utah, and I'm gonna start with quarterback Cameron Rising. And while I don't think he's a top prospect in the draft and things like that, this is an NFL caliber football player because he's a football player, right? This guy, I mean, you know, there's highlights of him getting his helmet knocked off and still running. Sometimes he goes with the long kind of flowy hair. You know, he's just a gamer at the end of the day. And then when you look at who should be his number one target, we know Dalton Kincaid went first round to the Buffalo Bills, DP. But there's another tight end there, Brant Keith, right? And I really like how this guy plays. He's smooth. He can line up in the slot. He can line up in line. He's not huge, right? He might be like 6'1", 230 pounds, but he's just very smooth at what he does. And I'm assuming that with Cameron Rising being a veteran quarterback, he's going to find his veteran weapon. So those are two names when you look out for a connection that's going to happen. Those are two names to definitely look out for.
No, 100%. I like the Brant Keith drop, you know, and he last year, right? I think, yeah, they opened up with Florida last year. He was 9 of 13. He was targeted 13 times. He caught 9 of his passes for 105 yards and the touchdown. He was a very tough cover for them, especially when you had Dalton Kincaid on the field and trying to take him away. And was it Tavion Thomas, I think, is the big running back they had, is everything like that. So they wanted to play some physical smash mouth football against a team from a physical smash mouth conference, and they did it well, man. It's just Anthony Richardson with those just wild splash plays that he was able to make, those big time plays in that game and the run game for Florida. And that's kind of where I lean to with this, with Montrell Johnson, man, the big kind of throwback running back. He kind of almost. For
Florida, right? For Florida.
Yeah, for Florida. He doesn't remind me. It's not a 1-for-1 comp now, but he kind of, the way he runs and his play style reminds me a lot of Leonard Fournette at LSU, where it's just a battering ram. Like if you're in the way, listen, you got to make a business decision because he's big. He's a throwback type of, his body type and throwback running style, physical downhill runner, Keith, that I'm excited to see another year with him in this offense. But always keep an eye on Graham Mertz. He was a toolsy quarterback. I think he was a 4 or 5 star recruit that Wisconsin, I talked about it all the time. I'm like, man, if these Big Ten teams can get a quarterback, they'll be fine. Well, Wisconsin got one that was highly touted. It just didn't work out.
Well, so I want to ask you, DP, because like Graham Mertz, right? And a lot of people kind of go, and I don't even think Florida fans were excited about getting Graham Mertz and naming him. But what did you see from Graham Mertz? Because we're talking about from a draft perspective, right? Is there anything there that this can be a guy that can help elevate a team, or is he just a guy that's just on the team?
Man, I don't think he has the game to just elevate to a high end, but I think he can play football, man. I think he's got the arm talent to do so. He moves pretty decent in the pocket. It just was a lot of times it was decision making for him. And granted that offense was very run heavy and everything like that. I think, when we seen what Billy Napier, the head coach at Florida, running his offense last year, we saw a lot of spread, shotgun. We see some pistols, 11 personnel, stuff like that, and kind of open concepts for the quarterback to have some spacing to throw. And I think that Graham will be able to get the ball to these receivers and everything. Like I said, I don't expect him to set the world on fire, right? He's not going to Lil Wayne and Eminem this thing, but I do, I don't think he's going to pick the world up and drop it on his head, but I do believe that he's going to do good enough. I think he can play football and really kind of just reinvent himself at Florida, Keith. But I got 3 wide receivers I'm going to drop really quick. 2 of them on the same team. Kobe Hudson and Javon Baker, 2 SEC transfers to UCF. Javon Baker was a 4-star recruit to Alabama, transferred to UCF. And with Kobe Hudson, he was a 4-star recruit to Auburn and transferred to UCF. 2, and they're listed almost identical in terms of size. Pretty decent athletes, guys that can run routes. They, solid route runners can get open. And I think in this offense, they have a lot. They're gonna have a lot of opportunities now as the true number 1 and number 2 receivers to go out there and ball. And then Wake Forest is Jahmal Banks, Donovan Green, who's one of my favorite potential, receivers with potential. He got hurt again, so he's out basically for the whole season. You know what I mean? And that leaves Jahmal Banks at 6'4", about 210, 215, long arm, kind of smooth guy, very similar to A.T. Perry, who we've seen make the 53-man roster for the New Orleans Saints. So keep your eyes on those guys. But Keith, I know one more. I'm going to say I may steal your thunder here. I figured you might want to bring him up, but Princely Umanmielen from Florida, the edge rusher.
Yeah. No, definitely, man. This is a guy that has all the talent needed to be a top 3-round guy, right? Like easily a day 2 prospect from an athletic perspective in skill set. So it's just a matter of him putting it together. But I think he's listed at with 6'4", 250-ish pounds. He's somewhere in there, could be 6'3", 250, right? But he has the versatility to be in a 4-3 scheme or a 3-4 scheme, I believe. But man, highly talented football player. And if they play in Utah, obviously he's going to have to stop the run, right? But Florida's going to need some guys on the defense side of football to make plays. And while we're finishing up on Florida, man, before we transition, I also want to talk about their cornerback, Jason Marshall, another prospect, right? That while we don't really know who's cornerback one, right? Some people are saying JaQuincy, some people are saying Denzel Burke from Ohio State, right? This guy may have opportunity because he's of the bigger he's one of the bigger corners, and I think right now this cornerback class is kind of small, right? Even Kalen King, cornerback from Penn State, right? He's kind of a little bit smaller in stature. Jason Marshall, I'm sorry, sits at 6'1". He's a 200-pound guy, so you kind of remember when they had Kyer Elam a couple years ago, right? And not saying that he's that type of player, that caliber player, but he definitely has the potential to be. This is his second year under, defensive back coach Corey Raymond, who I've said time and time again on this podcast, I believe is the best defensive back coach in the entire country, whether that be high school, college, or NFL. The guy knows what he's doing. So I'm looking forward to him getting his hands on a guy like that, developing him, and seeing what Jason Marshall pans out to be. So that's a big-time matchup, Florida versus Utah, DP, because we're going to be able to tell a lot really early about both teams, to be honest. And we know this is kind of, I don't want to say a do-or-die year for Florida, but they definitely need to be turning things around, especially with the release of Swamp Kings, right? Talking about the championships and the pedigree and everything else like that, man. But look, DP, we're going to keep this thing going, right? That was the prospects to watch. Now, listen. We didn't do well last week, right, with the face and the spread, but that was a tricky game, right? That game wasn't even played in the United States, right? That's why we got it wrong. But the games that are played in the United States, we're going to get those right, man. So we're facing the spread, man. We're going to talk about one of these spreads, probably Florida versus Utah. What's the spread? Talk about why we think a team may cover. Well, what team may cover, right? And if we were betting, man, what we would do, man. So coming up, man, we're talking about facing the spread. Coming up next.
Get ready for the NFL season with incredible offers from FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Right now, guys, new customers can get up to you can bet $5 and get up to $200 back in bonus bets, guaranteed. Let me say that again. You can bet $5, just $5, and get $200 back in bonus bets, guaranteed. Plus, all customers who bet the $5 will get $100 off NFL Sunday ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. So you might want to go ahead and try this package deal out. Now is the best time to join FanDuel. The app is super easy to use. You can do everything and bet on everything from the spreads to player props and so much more, guys. So much more. So all you got to do is visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season with an offer you will not want to miss. FanDuel is the official partner of the NFL. Facing the spread, Keith, we definitely didn't fare well last week, but that was because it was just a lot of circumstances that we were out of our control. It was in Ireland, Dublin. You know what I mean? Things get weird over there. But for us, man, we're looking at this Utah Florida game, right? Tonight, 8 Eastern, ESPN primetime. Florida walking into Utah as the underdogs, right? Per FanDuel Sportsbook right now, looking at the over-under, looking at the spread, rather. The spread is 4.5. Utah is a 4.5-point favorite to win this game and protect their home field. Keith, are you with the spread or are you against the spread? How are we facing it?
Oh, man. This is tough because I look at this Florida team, and that's why I asked you about Graham Mertz, DP, because this game last year came down to the wire, like the very last possession almost, right? For I think for Florida, right? I think Utah got it back late, I think with like 30 seconds or a minute or something like that. And it was an interception thrown. I've been through an interception. So I'm assuming this is going to be a close game. Obviously now they're at Utah. Last week they were at Florida. So last year they were at Florida. I'm going to pick Utah. The spread is 4 points, right? It's 4. They're giving Utah 4 points. I'm going to pick Florida, man. I think Florida is going to be within that 4. I don't think Utah is going to cover with the 4 points.
Yeah, that's 4 points. We've seen much bigger. There's a couple of them that's like double digit on the schedule for tonight and everything. But Keith, I'm going to go with Utah. I think Utah. I think they win the 4.5.
You think they win by a touchdown? Like you think that they're a solid team that they win by a touchdown? See, I'm picking Florida because I just think week 1, right? I think it's going to be a close matchup. And we talked about draft prospects, right? And like we said, draft prospects win games. Dalton Kincaid, not being there for Utah, I think is going to matter. And then I look at Florida, and that's why I wanted to ask you about Graham Mertz, right? I wanted to see what type of quarterback was. And if you tell me that he can be an efficient and effective quarterback, I think that with the run game, they'll figure out some stuff offensively and defensively. They have the athletes, right? They have the athletes to run in a matchup. So that's why I'm going to take Florida in this matchup.
Yeah, I'm gonna lean with Utah. I think going in where it's like now Utah says, welcome to what we dealt with last year. We walked into your house at nighttime and the crowd's going crazy. West Coast going East Coast. Now East Coast going West Coast. And think about this, so, as it's 8 o'clock Eastern time. But that game is going to be like, it's going to be a different time zone. I think Utah is going to be ready to rock and roll. Cam Rising being that everybody called Gardner Minshew Uncle Rico. That's Uncle Rico part 2. That's part 2 of Uncle Rico when you looking at from a quarterback standpoint. But I think he'll be able to just do what he do, right? Like that toughness you talk about, getting the helmet knocked off, running the football, taking big hits, just not really caring about his body. Like that stuff energizes his team. And I think defensively is where I think Graham Mertz can be efficient, but for somehow Utah's always really solid and well coached on the defensive side of the ball, man. And I think having that crowd on their side where, like, not saying that Graham Mertz hasn't been in those raucous situations, but man, going in there week 1 opening night, home opener for Utah, I think that they meet the spread. I think they handle business and they win with about 4.5 or a little bit more, maybe a touchdown. But I do think that Utah is going to be able to pull this game out.
Well, there we go. There we have it. That's I said. This is one of those situations, DP, where we both can't be right? Because we picked two different teams. We both can't be right. So one of us is going to show up 0-2. One of us is going to show up 1-1. I think I'm going to be right about this, but we'll see how this. We'll see how this thing goes, man. But DP, it's time to go ahead and transition, right? With pick'ems, man. We talked about a couple games, but I believe there's 12 in total. But we're gonna go through probably about 6 to 7 games and just pick, right? Like rapid fire. Who do we think gonna win the game? Quickly, why? And then we're gonna keep going from there because we're finally into college football. Like we said, man, we're excited to have this. We're excited for college football to be back. So let's get into this pick'em segment and have a little fun.
Pick them and them winning predictions, Keith. Now you talk about keeping track of the spread record. We gotta keep track of. We'll start keeping track of this pick 'em segment. I didn't look at the games from last week. I do that before we predict and do the pick 'em for this weekend's games as well. But on the slate for tonight, Keith, we have Kent State going into Florida, man, going into FBC Morgan Stadium, going to play the UCF Knights, Central Florida. I'm picking Central Florida in this game, Keith. I talk about their 2 wide receivers. Their offense is typically high-powered, so I'm rolling with UCF to protect home field.
I agree 100%. You could knock it down for me. I'm going UCF. I think both of those wide receivers are going to emerge themselves as eligible draft prospects, right? And people are going to be rather intriguing. I think it's a good showcase in week 1 for those guys.
Sure, for sure. Next up, we have Nebraska going on the road to face PJ Fleck and company and the Minnesota Golden Gophers. Keith, who are you picking in this one?
Minnesota, I guess. I'm. You know what? I'm gonna go with. Rewind that. Because this is the problem. Neither one of these teams have something that I really like, right? As far as head coaches, okay, they're both kind of weird. Like you're trying to get me to buy back into Matt Rhule when I seen what he just did at Carolina, right? Like it's very hard for me to buy back into that. But I'm gonna just pick, like we said, draft prospects. I'm gonna pick the guy I think the best draft prospects. That's Jeff Sims. He's gonna make some plays coming out party starting week 1. Jeff Sims. I'm gonna go with Nebraska to win the game.
Same, man. I'm picking Nebraska to go in. I know it's a tough place to play at nighttime. I think that was C.J. Stroud's first start when he, a couple years ago, and it was tough. But, it was a tough place to play. But I think Jeff Sims, Matt Rhule's coming out party, I think he'll be able to get those guys ready to rock and roll. And I'm going to pick Nebraska on the road. Talking about another team on the road, Keith, we have North Carolina State going on the road to face UConn. I'm taking North Carolina State. Brennan Armstrong's first start. I expect it to be after transferring from Virginia to play in this offense, man. And UConn has put some solid draft prospects into the league, but they're always been known as a basketball school. So I'm going with North Carolina State.
Yeah, I'm going North Carolina State too. It's at UConn, but I'm not sure if UConn has a home field advantage, right? I don't know. I don't know the last time I've seen a crazy crowd, for UConn football. So I'm gonna go North Carolina State 2 DP, like you said, man. Draft prospects, Brennan Armstrong. I think he's gonna play well. I think he's gonna showcase well. It should be a bounce back year from here because he had a really good 2021 season, 2022 kind of dip for him. So I'm expecting him to bounce back this year.
No, for sure. Next up, we have Elon, and I'm not talking about Elon Musk. We have the University of Elon going into to Wake Forest to face those Demon Deacons on the ACC network. Keith, very simple. That offense with the RPO, deep mesh RPO offense they run in Wake Forest. Jahmal Banks, Justice Ellison, running back for Wake Forest. Keep an eye on him because he can really make some things happen. I think it's going to be a big-time blowout. Shout out to Wake Forest with the dub.
I agree. I'm going Wake Forest also.
Now, the big game. We got to get into the headline, the Florida at Utah, Keith. We just picked the spread. Now, who are you picking in the game? You said that Florida isn't going to lose to the spread, or are they going to lose the game?
I'm picking Florida to win the game. I think Florida wins the game. I think they win by 3 points. I think it's a close game. I think it's it's very similar to what happened last year. I think Florida goes in there, like I said. You in DP, I'm putting this on you. You told me Graham Mertz was a solid quarterback. So that's what I'm setting this on your lap. So if Graham Mertz is a solid quarterback, there's enough around them. They've been ready for week 1. They're going to come out swinging. They're going to be ready to rock and roll. I'm picking Florida.
What little baby said when they tried to interview, hablo no English. Like, nope. I am not taking that one, brother. Nah, I'm picking Utah, man. Like I said, when it came down to the spread, I think being at home, protected home field, nighttime, crowd's going to be going crazy over there in Utah, man, getting ready. The home opener, man. I think it's just a tough place to play for a very talented team in Utah, but then to have that be their home opener to open the season. Oh, yeah, I think Utah is going to be able to take care of business and knock off an SEC team, man, and get some browning points with the committee, right, just in case they win the Pac-12.
Yeah, just in case, DP. Well, look, man, before we wrap up this pick'ems, man, I don't even want to go through a pick'em real quick, but there was one name I have to give, just give our listeners to, right? And we're talking about this could potentially be this is down the pipeline, but a 2026 NFL draft prospect, Arizona State's quarterback. They're playing against Southern Utah. But Arizona State's quarterback is a freshman, Jaden Rashada. He's one of the more high-profile quarterbacks out there. So definitely, just if you have any time, right, to be on the West Coast, just check it out, right? See what type of guy he is. They say he's a highly talented. He's gonna be on the field as a true freshman, so by the time it gets to the 2026 football season, right, he's gonna be somebody that's gonna be making some noise. So just wanted to throw that name out there. We're deep in our books, right, deep in the glossary, throwing out draft prospect names, man. So the quarterback for Arizona State, Jaden Rashada, DP. That wraps it up, man. That's the first Thursday, right, college football preview we have, man. We have some pretty good games on tap for tonight. I'm gonna be locked into this Florida Utah. like I said, it's a situation where we both can't be right. You pick Utah, I'm picking Florida. Let's see who wins, man. But like I said, man, thank you. Shout out to y'all for tapping in with us. We have a really good show planned for tomorrow. Also, get into more college football prospects. Like you said, man, we are your source for everything NFL draft. You tap in with your dynamic duo, Locked On NFL Draft. Shout out to our everydayers. Appreciate y'all.
Always go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts to get the latest episode as soon as it is available on YouTube. For Keith talked about, we have another episode coming this Friday, but Saturday morning, guys, I want to let you know right now, but probably between 9 and 10 o'clock. We got to figure out the time. We're going to be live, so you can hop in, talk ball with us, ask us some questions on the YouTube channel and everything like that. We're trying to bring that to you every just kind of a Saturday morning preview every single Saturday morning before college football. It's college football season. But on YouTube, hit the bell notification, subscribe. Remember, FTA for the algorithm. Comment, man. So you continue to keep us in the algorithm and everything. But shout out to you guys. As well as Twitter, man. You know what you can do. Find me, Damian Parson, DP_NFL, Keith Sanchez at The Talent Code. Talk to us because we do talk back, all right? Come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.